21st century science and old-fashioned guts are revolutionizing combat medicine for our troops. In Iraq, the medical units made famous by MASH have been retired in favor of new combat hospitals set up in the midst of the action. One thing that hasn't changed, though, is the courage of the medics, doctors, and nurses who are saving lives like never before. Last year, we went to see the action up close. We met two wounded Americans, Marine Corporals Kenny Lyon and Brad Folks. You wouldn't have expected either to have survived what happened to them. Their families agreed to let us tell you the story of how today's combat medicine gave both men a fighting chance. Kenny Lyon from Maryland was one gifted mechanic, and so he was outside trying to fix his broken-down armored vehicle when the mortar exploded. By the time he reached the hospital, half of his blood was gone already.
128 over 35 for the BP.
His pressure was critically low. Corporal Lyon's life was slipping away through 3 lacerated arteries and too many wounds to count. Shrapnel had torn into his head, neck, both legs, both arms. His left foot there on the bottom was turning white, no circulation. Paulette Shank is a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force Reserve. Back home, she's a nurse anesthetist in a hospital near Philadelphia.
It's a battle, you know? Sometimes people are fighting to die on the table, desperately.
Fighting to die?
Meaning their body is going further and further down the wrong direction. They need us to be able to resuscitate them so that we can stop that negative spiral downward, so that we go back to the spiral of life.
Shank supervised the operating rooms of the Air Force Theater Hospital. This is the war's busiest trauma center, an encampment of 32 tents on the Balad Air Base north of Baghdad. The 332nd Expeditionary Group has 400 staff and more than 300 trauma patients a month. To be close to the patients, the hospital is close to the battle. In the background, there's the sound of incoming wounded that beats against the canvas like an alarm. When you hear the helicopters coming in, is there a sense of dread about what's going to come through the door next?
I think it's the next challenge that's coming through the door. To ward off that ugly death man who wants to take away your person, and it's your job to make sure he's not successful today.
The day Kenny Lyon was wounded, another Marine, Brad Folks, was hit by a roadside bomb. He's from West Virginia, a 2-time state boxing champion. Suddenly, in the fight of his life, the day before his 23rd birthday, Corporal Folks made it to the Army's 10th Combat Support Hospital in Baghdad.
So just relax, okay? I want to know every time we move you.
Lieutenant Colonel Warren Dorlack flew in with a team just for Folks. Dr. Dorlack is chief of trauma at the giant American Medical Center in Landstuhl, Germany. He's one of the military's top doctors. He came himself because of Folks' condition. Folks lost a lung, his kidneys are failing, and half his body is burned.
I think his overall prognosis just from his burn alone is actually very good.
Even burned that extensively?
Even burned that extensively. The problem with this patient is that he has a number of other severe injuries, the biggest being the problem with his one lung. We got to get him on this flight.
As sick as Brad Folks is, Dorlack is moving him to Germany. The life support gear they're carrying is so advanced, some of it isn't even available in the United States yet. And at the same time Folks is flying to Germany, special medical teams from Texas and Maryland are flying to Germany to meet him. At what point do you say to yourself, we can't save this life?
You know, we don't make that decision. We go full court press on everybody.
That full court press starts with the quick response of these medevac helicopters, flying emergency rooms. Staff Sergeant Danny Stevenson is a flight medic with the Army's 57th Medical Evacuation Company. Back on September 11th, 2001, he was a staff medic at the Pentagon, treating the wounded. After 9/11, he asked the Army to send him overseas.
They called you. You don't have backup. You are the backup. So if you can't get the job done, nobody else can. It's a lot of pressure. And I can handle that kind of pressure.
Helicopter units like this one are spread out all over Iraq so that no injured man or woman is more than 20 or 25 minutes from their reach. It's all about what the doctors call the golden hour, that first hour after the injury when a Marine or a soldier can easily bleed to death. Speed is everything.
The medevac helicopters are sometimes fired on, and there's always the possibility of an ambush on the ground.
You ever scared?
I don't get scared.
No, come on now. Everybody gets scared.
I mean, some stuff freaks me out sometimes, but if you freak out on the scene, you're just going to lose control of it. If you lose control of it, you're going to die.
We put a camera on Stevenson's helmet to see what he sees. She's the company medic, treating 2 soldiers hit by a roadside bomb. The wounded were Iraqi. Stevenson signaled an L for litters or stretchers to be brought over.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Just 17 minutes take off to touchdown. The wounded reach the hospital, and they will survive.
No one dies on the back of my helicopter. I'll do CPR all the way into the end. They die in the hospital, and that's where it stays.
You keep them alive.
That's right. I breathe for them, I beat for them, I do everything I can for them.